Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi LiveENODING. In this episode, we're gonna combine one of another Blender feature that's my favorite, which is Blender Dynamic Paints. It's actually a very underrated feature of Blender. I think not many people, especially even if you are using it for a while, you probably will never use Blender Dynamic Paint. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I will try to make a series of video just using Blender Dynamic Paint and animation nodes and sphere chalk. So I think it's very powerful. It's like so I have these two objects, the cube and the ground floor, and I will use this dynamic paint effects. I'll turn on for the grid. It's gonna be the canvas, and for this guy, it's gonna be the brush. So I always start like that, and then of course the canvas itself, the resolution is really dependent of the mesh. So if I go to edit mode, currently it's a very low resolution, so it's not very good if you're working with a low res like this. So we want to increase the subdivisions of the grid. For example, later on we will learn that we can use sphere chalk to do this. So I just increased the subdivisions, but this should be before the dynamic paint modifier. So now you can see the resolution has increased. I'm gonna increase it a little bit more. So now we have this dynamic paint working for us. And if I run the playback and move the brush around, we can start painting on the object. So that's the typical operations, right? But what if we use sphere chalk to generate the brush, the canvas, and using animation nodes to drive this around procedurally? So is that possible? So of course that's possible. So I'm gonna delete everything so we have nothing on the scene, and I'll jump into compositing, and inside sphere chalk nodes tree I will create I start with a grid. It's gonna be a plain MK2, and this guy will be I will generate like a real object. I'll call it canvas. So now we can see the canvas in 3D view. I'll increase the resolutions and we'll center the grid. Maybe I'll make it 20 by 20, so we have 400 points here. It's actually still fairly low res like this, but that's fine. And I will turn this into dynamic paint canvas, and it should still work with sphere chalk, I believe. So I'll save this file, save as ANSV dynamic paint playground 001. So this is gonna be the canvas, and for the brush I will also use another sphere chalk node. It's gonna be the box, and I will output a viewer bmesh, and now we should have this cube. I can scale it anytime, and I could name this a brush, but it doesn't matter. I will assign the dynamic paint brush for this guy, and let's see if this is working for us. So we have this dynamic paint canvas and this guy's brush. Supposed to see an effects already, but doesn't seems to be seeing anything yet. Maybe I need to calculate normal or smooth shade. Oh well, doesn't matter. Let's continue on. I'm gonna switch to animation nodes, and I will drive this box using wiggle. So object, I'm gonna use object transform output. I'm gonna select my object, turn on locations, gonna use vector wiggle, plug this into that guy, and we're gonna evolve it. Use a frame number into the evolutions, and we should have the brush moving. So this guy supposedly already start painting on this grid, but currently probably it doesn't work because Sphere might update the mesh on every frame. So I might actually just turn it off. I turn off Sphere processing, and now I let it run, and still doesn't seem to work. That's very interesting. Maybe the setup here is a bit wrong. Now, let me check quickly. Then you have another objects, normal objects, dynamic pane, brush, and this guy I'm gonna duplicate it. Vertex painting is on, and this guy is supposed to be on. So I'm gonna try again. Create a normal grid plane, and I'm gonna subdivide it multiple times. Gonna create a cube, dynamic pane, brush, dynamic pane, canvas. So this guy is working. So you can see the dynamic pane is working there, but it doesn't quite work on this guy. So I'm kind of wondering why. Try subdivision here. So by subdividing, this guy start to work. Interesting. But anyhow, I will probably change this one. Instead of mesh volume, I'll change it to mesh volume and proximity. Normally that works the best. So that's kind of interesting that this doesn't work right away before. I have to investigate on that, but anyhow, you can see the effects already happening. So animation nodes wiggle is doing its stuff. I can turn it off in the z-axis so it doesn't go up and down. So it's now just kind of wiggling around on the canvas. So if I'm not wrong, we can actually change the brush on every frame. Let's say if later on we use grease pencil to generate the brush on the fly, we can certainly do that, and we can still kind of using the combination of animation nodes and spectral to do its thing. So let me try other thing. Like currently the color is just blue. I will try changing it to different color. So in this dynamic pane properties, we have this blue color, but if we run the animations, if we change the color, it will actually change on the fly. So we can take this to our advantage, you know, like just using animation nodes to change the color and things like that. So let's try doing that. So this guy, if we change the color, it will show up here. Dynamic pane, brush setting, pane color. It is apparently 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 color. It's RGB. The alpha is on different parameter, which is cool. So let's say we can use maybe random vector, and this guy should be like attribute output. So the objects we are wiggling is the brush. So using the same object, we can get to the object modifier this setting. I think we can use right click and copy data path. some modifiers, dynamic paint, brush setting, paint color. I think this should be working. Currently, I think this must be set a bit too high or something, so we don't. Oh yeah, it's already working. So we kind of like randomly changing the color of the brush by just moving this node seed attribute, changing this parameter. So this is kind of effects that I was talking about. It's actually very powerful. Not many people use dynamic paint. Maybe some effects artists actually use it in Blender, but I found it very powerful, and maybe Blender kind of stopped developing on dynamic paint, but it's already as very, very powerful as it is, and I want to do more using in combinations with animation nodes and SpreadShop. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this live noding. It is like I'm covering some of the old topics, but I try to put them together and kind of moving into more intermediate advanced level. So it's a lot of combinations of a lot of techniques. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this live noding, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.